mic so we don't have feedback and such. Um, and then if you have questions, if you want to just use the little chat thing here to message me, and then I'll try to answer those as we go along. Oh, I hope that doesn't stay up there the whole time. Okay. Can you see it okay? Oh, now your mics are they're muted, aren't they? All right. So yeah, if you don't mind, we've already said an opening prayer, and the mics are muted, and just type your little messages if you have them, and we're going to record this to see if this will help others. And I hope you don't mind me doing it this way. I just felt like that all of us coming out, finding a time in the evening or on the weekend, pulling us away from our families, that, oh, if you don't mind muting, thanks. Anyway, that we would try this type of thing going forward so that we can have more time with our families and we can watch it at our convenience late at night or when you're off work or whatever works for you. So what we're going to cover today is I'm going to try to take Fall into Service into a little bit deeper level. I know a number of you were at the training a few months ago, and we did answer a lot of the questions here, and so we will repeat some of that, but I'm going to go a little deeper. And for those of you who are not at the training, hopefully this will allow you to have more questions answered, because a letter went out to our stake presidents back in January, and then a follow-up letter again in March from our area authorities talking about this Fall into Service initiative. And so to understand Fall into Service, just real overarching, is that it's not another additional thing that we're doing. It's actually just simply to help us, to catapult us into working with Just Serve as we have been asked to do. All of us, if you're listening to this call, you're probably serving as a community outreach specialist or in some public affairs capacity. So to help us really to light a little fire under most of us, because public affairs is a pretty tricky calling, being that it's not like anything else that we're used to, where, if you're serving in a young women's presidency, then you have, BYC to be at and a fireside and get your lesson ready for Sunday and make sure everybody knows about the mutual activity. I mean, there's very specific things that you do every week, but public affairs is a little more ambiguous, and you have to be a self-starter and put time aside on your own calendar to make things happen. So it's a little bit trickier in that way, but this helps us. So this is what went out. Fall into Service at the request of Elder Lynn G. Robbins is what Elder Villarreal, if I'm saying his name right, wrote. He said, who is the supervisory responsibilities for North America, Southwest area. I have been asked to remind you of the Just Serve initiative and the emphasis and schedule proposed for October's Fall into Service month. So he said, somebody's mic on? Okay, so under the direction of the stake president, each ward identifies one or more service organizations that assist the poor and the needy on justserve.org and then adopts them for the month of October. So it could be auxiliaries, classes, and quorums are encouraged to center their activities on serving these organizations. Oh, Kathy, your video is on, so this is being recorded.
Okay.
So if you could just mute your mic too, and you could turn off your video if you want. So we just don't have, because I can hear the feedback. Anyway, but glad you're here. All right, so this initiative will help us all get up to speed more quickly with Just Serve, because Just Serve is here to stay. We need to help our wards and stakes learn to utilize it better and teach the members of the church Christ-like service as a way of life. And Just Serve will help us all find meaningful ways to serve. So why are we being asked to participate in this Fall into Service initiative? So these are a couple of quotes from this letter again. So Elder Robbins said, we feel confident that successful implementation of this initiative will not only bless the lives of those we serve, it will likewise lift and bless those who render service. As members and friends prayerfully render Christ-like service, testimonies will grow, faith and hope will increase, and countless lives will be blessed. And then another note from this same letter, one of the two letters, service in the community is not an activity that should be limited to once a year. So make sure everybody understands that. We're going to talk about October. But again, we want to stress to the members that Christ-like service is the antidote for so many problems we see around us right now, and that we feel like if church members the brethren feel like if church members will get out there and serve and teach others around them to serve, that we can help lift. We're talking about not only clothing the naked, feeding the hungry physically, but also spiritually. We know that there are so many people that are struggling and having difficulties in their life that truly service is the antidote for so much of that. So church members should be engaged in helping the poor and the needy in the community continually. So it's not a one-time thing. This isn't like once October's over, this is all done. This is an ongoing thing, and this is a way of life that we all need to do better at thinking that way and centering our lives around Christ-like service. Okay, so stake presidents were given the council to consider emphasizing Just Serve in stake meetings, ward meetings, leadership meetings, conferences. And then he wrote, this is from in this letter, he said, I'm confident this is an inspired undertaking and will help us serve the poor and needy among us. So that was some of the direction given to our stake presidents. And so how do we get started? I hope these are all in the right order. So first, with Fall into Service, the first is to understand that the basic premise of this is that wards are being asked to select a project from justserve.org for Fall into Service. And then bishops have been asked to identify a counselor to carefully review the Just Serve handbook and then take the lead in teaching ward auxiliaries, quorums, classes, and members about Just Serve. So if you are a ward level community outreach specialist, and I realize some of you who are ward level people are called by the ward to oversee everything going on in your ward with Fall into Service and Just Serve, and some of you are stake level people that are actually assigned back to your ward perhaps to take care of it. There's every stake is doing it a little bit differently, so there's no right or wrong way, but just make sure that you are in good communication with your director of public affairs, who for the Austin stake is Scott Rowe, for the Round Rock East stake is Jeannie McClellan, for the Oak Hill stake would be Michael Johnson, for the Kyle stake would be Brother Kenneth Ray, and then for the Round Rock stake would be Howard Nicholas. So make sure you're staying in touch with them no matter what, and reach out to your stake level community outreach specialists, and hopefully you know who all of those are. Linda Dykes in Round Rock, let's see, Mick Thurber in Round Rock East stake, Nicole Yachman down in the Oak Hill stake, Sally Nichols in the Kyle stake, and who did I just forget? The Austin stake, Terry Ogden. So, yep, make sure you're in good contact with them, and they will be a huge asset to you. And so you'll work closely with your bishopric counselor to make all of this happen. So the responsibilities of the bishops and ward councils, they are to work with, you will work with the ward council to select one or more organizations from justserve.org to adopt for the month of October. Oh, I'm backing up. This is the responsibility. What it states in that letter are the responsibilities of the bishopric counselor, for the bishops. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here. But so the bishop will work with the ward council to select a project. Then he's going to designate a counselor in the bishopric to document the service provided, collect stories and photographs from the members of their experiences serving, and provide these stories and photographs to the stake Just Serve committee. And then also help to teach the doctrines of Christ-like service to ward members, and invite auxiliaries, quorums, and class leaders to do the same. So that's really important that the bishopric liaison person has been selected, and if not, try to figure out how to help make that happen, or at least put a bug in someone's ear that, hey, and again, don't be really super careful about not dictating to like the bishop, this is what you do, you're not doing this right, or, we got to do this. Just simply, if you want, share with him the letter, which I'm sure he's seen, and just remind him, say, how can I help? I've been called to work in this capacity. How can I help our ward achieve the ward goals? And if you approach it that way, how can I help and serve to help you achieve the goals for our ward and to fulfill this, what has been asked of us with Fall into Service, then I think they'll be very open to say, oh, great, wonderful, let's do this. And anyway, so a really engaged bishopric member will be huge, because they will help you to get like the fifth Sunday if you need it to make a presentation, and they can help teach that. If they're engaged, it will be wonderful. Okay, so let's talk real specifically about what a ward community outreach specialist would do. And I summarized it in their responsibilities would be to find opportunities within the area, and we're going to go over that a little bit more, to post the opportunities once they've been approved by the Just Serve committee of your stake, inspire the ward members, and then build bridges in the community with those of other faith, and we'll talk more about that as well. So this is a lot, kind of a big slide, really heavy here, but I just want to share with you, and you might pay attention to that little, the URL there at the bottom of the screen, but I just got to keep putting everything that I put a plug for this, because every time I keep finding something neat from another stake or on the internet, I've been working with Just Serve now for almost 2 years. Every time I find something cool, I'm trying to throw it into this folder, which is a shared Google Drive folder, and I just did a short link there so you could kind of remember it better. But there's lots of really good information there, including like the video that we recently created for our Austin metro area about Just Serve, and that's on there, so that you could download and use. Anyway, just all kinds of good stuff. So as a ward community outreach specialist, starting out, you have to understand that none of this is really going to work unless there are projects listed in your area. And if every ward and every stake will have someone engaged to find everything within their ward boundary, oh my goodness, this will grow like by leaps and bounds. So we're going to talk more about finding those projects in just a minute. But this is the list basically of what a ward community outreach specialist can do. And again, they don't have to. This is just some suggestions and things that if you really want to make this happen, these are some ideas. So reach out to organizations to make appointments for presentations, and then present the justserve.org presentation to organizations. And you don't have to invent the wheel there, because there are already great PowerPoints that have been created that you can use. So you make presentations and invite them to be listed on justserve.org. You would communicate regularly with your stake Just Serve committee for project approval before the post goes live. And we won't talk about anything with posting today. We've had little conference calls, webinars with posting projects before, and we didn't record, so I could do another one if that would help. I'm happy to assist in any way. But I just would continue to encourage you to always go back to your stake Just Serve committee person, or your stake Just Serve, or your stake community outreach specialist person from the public affairs committee first, because all of those gals that lead in the stake are super knowledgeable, and they've posted a lot of projects and made presentations. So go there first, and I can always be a resource too. So then after you've gotten approval from your stake Just Serve committee for the project to be posted, then you would prepare, post, and manage the listings for the organizations. And we would hope that you would begin to attend ward council meetings at least for a few months leading up to fall into service with the permission of the bishop. Check with him first. There is often confidential things that happen there, so you would want to make sure that he is good with you attending. But that would be a wonderful way for you to make some progress, and make some progress quickly, because we're hitting June here, so time is ticking by as far as the timeline that the Brethren gave us for kind of making this happen, the suggested timeline. So work closely with your bishopric liaison to drum up excitement within the ward, and we're going to talk more about that. Work with ward leaders to teach ward members about Just Serve, and hold events, meetings, or other methods to get as many ward members as possible to register on Just Serve. Don't forget about the missionaries. They're a really integral part of Just Serve, and I know that that's not your calling to, coordinate or work with them, but if anything, within ward council, make sure that you address that directly with the ward mission leader and keep in contact with him, because the missionaries, Just Serve was actually created not only for the members and the world, but with the missionaries in mind. And we've talked about that. I know many of you have heard about that a number of times, but keep in mind the statistic that last year in 2015, the North America Western area missionaries alone completed 1.5 million hours of service. That's a lot, and that makes a really big dent. So the missionaries, Just Serve is so great for them. And if you are finding projects within their ward boundary, your ward boundary is generally their district, and your stake boundary is generally their zone. So they've been encouraged to do projects within their ward or district boundaries if possible. And if they need to go outside, then they're supposed to get rides with members, was the direction from our San Antonio mission president. So Um, so anyway, work with the missionaries to help them find and keep them posted on, hey, elders, did you know there's this new listing that we just put up? This might be really great for you guys to do. They do have some specific parameters of things that they can and can't do, and we won't go into all of that right now. But again, all of this is, hopefully you can see that. This is the Just Serve Community Outreach Specialist Google folder that has everything in it. And one thing that I would definitely look at is right here, the Just Serve guidelines. Read this and read it again. This is your best friend. This has all of the information about what I'm talking about, like the missionaries, what they can and can't do for projects. So make sure you're super familiar with that. And if you haven't, read it, I actually need to go reread it again and again, just because I keep finding new stuff in there to help me. So anyway, and then another aspect is to invite other faith groups to participate and fall into service. The letter from the Brethren actually did state that, that the Stake Just Serve Committee, or the Stake Public Affairs Committee, would reach out to those of other faith, which they will be doing. And a lot of stakes have, some good interfaith things going on. The challenge with that is that there are a lot of different churches, right, within a stake boundary. And so I would propose to you that that you start to look around, what is within my ward boundary, what churches are here, and then also you might survey or somehow try to find out from your ward members who knows whom within these other faiths. A good friend that I walk with is a very devout Catholic and very involved, and I know that if I asked her, hey, what is your church doing for this? And, how could we help? This is Just Serve, and this is this neat thing that I've been involved with. It's so wonderful. How could, we work together with your church to make some really great things happen here in town? So anyway, those connections will be a great asset to you. And then the hope is that we can invite other faiths to participate and fall into service, and that this can go well beyond just your one little ward, that it can be the whole, Leander community, the whole Pflugerville community, working hard to make something great happen. So keep in good communication with your stake public affair leaders. They're your biggest resource, and your Bishopric Ward Council. They are the decision makers. So keep that in mind, that this is a priesthood-driven initiative. This is not us. We're just here to help facilitate. So, and we're all a team in building up the kingdom of God. So I'm sure you understand that. So, and keep in mind too, I try to help everybody keep this vision, is that although Just Serve gets its start from church membership, that, we're talking to the ward members and getting them all jazzed up and doing this Fifth Sunday presentations and things like that. But really this is intended for the world. So keep in mind, how can we make this resource known to others? How can we get it out there? So one suggestion as you start is to understand your ward boundaries. And I just say that, maybe that's just a given. Sorry, this is kind of a fuzzy picture here, but I logged into LDS.org, and this is my Pflugerville ward boundary showing up here. So I just cut and paste that over. But if you sign into LDS.org in the top right corner, under My Account and Ward, if you select Ward Map from the drop-down menu under My Ward, then your ward boundaries populate, and you can zoom in and see real closely what your ward boundary covers exactly. So I think that's really helpful to understand that, first of all. And I just mentioned that because some people might not realize that resource is there on LDS.org for you. So, and here's another long list. I'm really sorry. I should have broken these out more. I was cutting and pasting. But so as you're getting started, you think, okay, we want to do fall into service. But if all of the wards now are saying, okay, we're going to do fall into service and we're going to pick a Just Serve project, there have to be projects there for them to go find and do. So we need projects listed. So how do you go about doing those? Oh, do you like my typos up there? Anyway, well, maybe not. Anyway, okay, look for things like food banks, backpack coalition, food for kids, flood cleanup things, Drive a Senior, Meals on Wheels, all those kind of things. Look for those in your area. I've had a couple people call me and say, but my area is mostly residential. And you know what? My ward boundary, Pflugerville Ward in the Round Rock East Stake, is mostly residential as well. There's very little of anything else. But I would say back, are there libraries in your community? Because libraries often need volunteers. Are there local parks? because we want to relieve pain and suffering, but we also want to better our community. That's another goal of justserve.org. Think about the schools in your community. I know that school volunteerism, changes so fast, it might not be a good match for posting on JustServe, but sometimes there are things that are set up in place, like that they love it when, grandparents come in and read with students, and they do it on a consistent basis that they can plan on all year long. So things like that for a school could be listed on JustServe. And I contend that if you understand all of the schools in your area, then you will be better equipped to go and make presentations to them, like to high school National Honor Society groups, to understand that JustServe is a great way to find projects. So just keep that in mind. I would make a list of all the churches within the ward boundary. Find out their names, the pastors, the leaders, and then reach out to them like we were talking about. You could simply approach them, even if you don't have a contact or someone in your ward that knows someone, simply by going in and saying, hey, do you have mission trips? A lot of churches have mission trips coming up where you might need supplies, something that we could partner with you to collect or create or sew or do something to help, or reach out to them and say, hey, our church, we are concerned about refugees right now and helping them, and we want to partner with other churches in our area to really help them. Would you like to work together? So anyway, I would definitely make a list of all of the churches in the area. Then scout troops within your ward boundary, both LDS and non-LDS. You could educate these groups on how JustServe resource will help scouts find meaningful projects. I love the idea of seeing if you could make a presentation at an upcoming district roundtable for your little area. That would be awesome to really get the word out, because scouts know other scouts and are often, their leaders are very well connected within the community. So I think it's great. One thing that I put next is, if you need hints, I would pull up other areas on JustServe. This is what I did when we were first starting. Dallas had gone ahead of us, and they had a lot of listings up. So I would go look at the Dallas. I would put Dallas in the search, and I would see, what do they have in there? What kind of stuff? And I would see, Meals on Wheels. And I would think, well, I'm going to Google Meals on Wheels on Austin. Do we have it here? Or Habitat for Humanity, or some of these different things that I was seeing in other areas. It gave me ideas on what is here, because sometimes we just don't know what is here. But I found out that a lot of those same things were there. So let's see. And then let's see. Watch things like the Community Impact or other papers for upcoming events, local races, things like that you can help with, a festival where you could have a JustServe table, like the Round Rock Steak is set up at the Armistead, if that's how you say it, festival coming up. So that's really, really neat, and helping to get the word out about it. And then you could also look at, are there companies within your area where they encourage employees to give back to the community by serving? Sometimes we can get listed. We are listed on some companies now, their internal sites, so that the employees can see that this is a resource to help them find volunteer opportunities. So even other there could be online opportunities as well, which we are allowed to post. So even if it's not something necessarily within your ward boundary, but we're talking about like an online opportunity like Million Graves or LibriVox, which is where people can stay at home and record themselves reading books for people who can't, can no longer see or hard of seeing or whatever. Anyway, people use this service, and they can't perhaps afford an expensive audiobook, and so people take the time to volunteer and read these books on LibriVox. So kind of a neat thing, and we can, if you find online things like that, I checked and we're fine to list. So, and then always ask for referrals from the nonprofits as you meet with them and make presentations. Ask them what other nonprofits in the area that you think JustServe would benefit, and they often know each other, and we've gotten some great referrals that way. And then work to help nonprofits become partners where they can be trained to manage their own listings. So later on, that's the hope, is that we can help them to understand it and utilize it enough that they can do their own listings. So let's talk about how to drum up excitement within a ward. And all right, so this one isn't quite such a long list. I actually threw some pictures in here. This is one that we've talked about before, but this is a real basic one that could happen right away. And that would be that in the ward council discussing, could we implement a way where talks on service could be given in sacrament meeting, and special presentations or special presentations given during the third hour. That's straight from the original memo from the Brethren. So that's a great thing. We don't necessarily have to wait for a fifth Sunday to make a presentation. And if there's still a number of wards out there, from what I understand, that have not had the Just Serve presentation. And again, there's presentations that have been created for when you're out there making a presentation to the public, like to list a project, to list a client or a prospect on Just Serve. And then there are also great presentations that have been created, PowerPoints, for word presentations. So those are readily available to you. Again, they're in that folder that I was talking about. So here are just some more ideas. But some wards have been approaching young women leaders about doing a Just Serve evening for Mutual, help them download the app, like say, hey girls, everybody pull out your phone, let's download the app, and then let's find projects and help them understand how Just Serve will help them complete their personal progress goals. I love this picture, thanks to Linda Dykes, but this is cute gal in the Round Rock stake, and she selected from Just Serve a project to go and help. She leads a singing class, a choir at a local rest home. So really, really cute. Approach young men and scout leaders about helping the young men utilize justserve.org to find service opportunities. You know, for Star, Life, and Eagle, they need service hours, and those Eagles need those big service projects. Or the Citizenship and the Community Merit Badge, they also need projects. So a night where you're going in and you're teaching the young men, maybe even have laptops provided so they can find projects right there that night, log in, create a username and password, and simply teaching them how to give Christ-like service is really a great preparation for a mission. That's why I threw this little picture in here. But I think what a great way, right? And if it's been a while since your ward has had the Just Serve presentation, almost 2 years for some, do another fifth Sunday presentation. And like I started to say, it doesn't necessarily need to be on a fifth Sunday. We've been told it can be any time that the ward says is fine and the dates line up and it works. You could teach about Just Serve at a Relief Society enrichment night. You could say, volunteer to lead a little homemaking class. We call it homemaking, whatever we're calling it right now. Help them to download the app and sign up. Teach them how to use this as a resource to bless their families and or complete a Just Serve project together that night, like these cute sisters are doing. There are some great videos. I said there's a great video to show, because there's one. Let's see, do I have it? No, I guess I don't have it open right now. But there are some great videos, and I believe the links are in that folder. I'm going to try to go back to it. Hold on. Sorry, one second. So in this folder that I was talking about, right here, this thing that says read first, if you'll open that, I have listed just a ton of great resources. And I mentioned, hey, there's the ward presentations. If you'll click on those links, those will take you to where these things are. And I mentioned the videos, like these awesome videos, and you will find them. I mentioned that because one of the videos that I think is especially touching is one where the brother talks about going out with his family and how they came across this family who was so destitute, and it made such an impact on their child about how good they felt and how much they wanted to help this family even more. And just saying, we can't even put a price tag on those kind of experiences with our kids. So anyway, but to teach that concept to the sisters and to help them understand how much Just Serve will bless their families. With permission of ward leaders, begin Just Serve moments like missionary moments in Relief Society and priesthood. And this is a cute picture from a little gal in the Austin stake helping a backpack coalition. But you could challenge each family in the ward to complete a Just Serve project, and to use Just Serve pass-along cards to be distributed to each ward member and challenge to invite a non-member friend to do a Just Serve project with them. So just more ideas of things that I've heard. Oh, okay. I duplicated that one. All right. Oh, sorry. Here, that one slide was supposed to be deleted. I broke that out. Okay. So those are just some ideas. And this part, I know time is ticking away, so I'm going to keep moving along quickly. This part right here, I don't intend to stress anybody out. I just want to mention these different resources for you to use as communication tools. And if your feeling is that I am not super tech savvy, this all kind of, gives me stress, then ask in ward council, hey, does anybody know how to create Google Forms? And there is probably someone there who could create a Google form if you want to use that in 3 minutes as you're sitting there. Like that's how simple it is for some people. Others, I'm not as tech savvy as some, so other things are fine for me. So anyway, I just try to learn from people, and if I can't do something, I just ask somebody else for help. So anyway, there's so many different tools. So let me just mention these real quickly. After you pick a project, and so you've decided with your ward council how you're going to do it. And I think the slide kind of got before some other slides, but I'll go ahead and talk about this right now. But you could use like a sign-up genius. You're going to say, hey, we're all going to meet on April 8th to do this JustServe committee. Let's say you're doing it as a whole ward. You could use sign-up genius as a tool to let you actually keep track of who's coming, because sometimes people are more likely to be engaged if they have actually said, yes, I will be there. And with sign-up genius and things like that, it's free to use, is why I mentioned it, but you can actually initiate reminder emails, or you could use an Evite or something like that too. A lot of wards I know are very connected on Facebook, so don't overlook social sharing, because I know in our ward there are some events that I've helped to put on and found out that not even all of the sisters actually use email at all. There's some that don't even go to email at all, which is hard for me to understand, but that's just the truth. So I would say try to use a few different mediums to reach people. So there's social sharing, regular emails. Like if you pick a date, I would start to send, regular emails. If you want to say, send around a clipboard to all the auxiliaries on Sunday and collect email addresses, for those who want to receive communication about this and stay informed to possibly participate or to sign up. You could put them on an email list. You can get permission from your bishopric to send a ward email blast. You just wouldn't do that very much because you could overwhelm the people. So I would probably, sorry, somebody just asked me a question and I missed that. I'm going to come right back, okay? All right. So there's fall into service also right here. I have use sacrament meeting. I love the idea. One of the wards is actually once a month at least, they are doing a sacrament meeting program cover, from what I understood. Maybe I misunderstood that, but anyway, I just love the idea that they are using the program covers to actually put out the word about fall into service. So that's really fun, really neat. There's also, all of us use text now, right? So Remind is a great little free app to, tell people. You could just even put it in the ward bulletin. Hey, text to whatever it is, 8101, text whatever the thing says anyway. And so that you can actually get people to collect it will keep track of their cell phone numbers, and then you can remind them. And then also, I heard this idea at a stake meeting this last week, but I think this is a great idea. It's an awareness survey. And what can be done with an awareness survey is, even though a lot of people have heard about JustServe, maybe they're not actually engaged yet. And so an awareness survey, and here I was going to show you, I actually just created this. And what happens is when you create within create a Google survey, you can actually have it populate right inside of an email. So I sent it to myself. And the nice thing about an awareness survey like this, that I like the idea, is because not only does it give you a lot of helpful information to find out what people know or what they've done or how involved they've been. And again, we're not trying to collect stats on if you're doing it or you're not doing it. In fact, the survey doesn't even ask for a name. And it's not collecting the stats. It's just letting you know how well your communications are making it to people. And you might think about encouraging the Stake Public Affairs Committee to do this at a stake level, just because for every single ward to create one, and by the way, something like this you would need to create yourself or one person in the stake to send it out. I'm saying a stake would be great, because then that person could collect the data would come back into them. When you do a survey like this, what I love is that, or not a survey, but just a Google form, is that it comes back in, all the information comes back to you into a spreadsheet form. So, you can quickly sort it and get everybody from the Kyle ward or the Pflugerville ward or whatever, and then send that information out to the different wards so they can see, if people are visiting JustServe, do they have an account? Have they downloaded the app? Did you hear the JustServe presentation in your ward? Yes, no, I can't remember. You see how just on your phone or on a desktop in just a few minutes, you can answer these questions. How long ago did you participate in a JustServe project? Can't remember, not applicable, I never have, or the timeline. Anyway, and have you heard about Fall into Service this October? And then what branch are you from, and how might we, better help you to understand justserve.org? So that's just one idea, but I like this idea because not only does it help you to understand what's happening and how you can do a better job, or maybe what wards there's some holes where you can, it will help your stake public affairs and your stake leadership understand maybe where we can reach people better. But it also, just by sending the survey, creates awareness right there. So I like that idea a lot. All right. So that's the survey. And this is what the survey actually looks like when you're looking at it live. Here, I'll go back to that. This is if somebody clicks over and they were to look at it there. But I just put it right into the email so that people don't even have to click on anything. They can just fill it out right there in the email. I think that's pretty nifty. So right here, I was just going to put a plug for Linda and I were talking about this as the call started, but I use a website a lot called Canva, canva.com. And again, this is not I only tell you this because it's free to use. You only have to pay a little bit if you want to pay like $1 to use one of their stock photos or something. But I mention that just because I'm one of those people, like in my callings, I like to have things look good. and again, I don't tell you this to stress this out or make you feel like you have to do this, but if you're one of those people, like you feel like people will be more engaged or kind of pay more attention if something looks like it's real, it's legitimate, by creating something. I do use Photoshop for work, but Photoshop is complicated and I would never, it's expensive. And, if you want to create something cool, I just was going to mention that this website, Canva, I just told myself, okay, in 15 minutes, I want to create something that looks kind of fun and good that, could possibly be used for a program cover for a sacrament meeting or something like that. So I just took 15 minutes and created a couple of these little things, and they're nothing special. I didn't spend much time, so I'm kind of embarrassed to show you, but I just wanted to tell you, like, that is something that you can do. And I'll just pull it over. This is called canva.com. And I just want to tell you this because it's free. I feel comfortable telling you about this little site that I came across about a year ago. But for example, if you have a ward that is very engaged in social media, and that is really a tool that is used to communicate with people, you could just say, okay, I want to create a little social media something or other, and then they give you all kinds of different designs over here, and so you could, grab one and change it, tweak it to fit your own. And this is a free thing. The picture's free, everything, and you could, say Fall into Service and make something handy. Anyway, it's the size, the pixels, and everything are ready to go for social sharing. So anyway, for what it's worth, I just thought I would share that with you. All right, so I'm going to drag this back here. So that's how I created those. All right. So I hope this doesn't feel like a fire hose. Okay, so how should Fall into Service projects be completed? That question's been coming up a lot too. And really, that's just up to your ward council. So first of all, I would do your homework before you go into ward council. I would research what's available on justserve.org and then take suggestions in with you to say, hey, this is one that I saw, and this is one, and this is one, and what do you think? Or, you could even have, your Chromebook open right there and be looking at stuff, or your iPad or whatever, and you could talk and decide on things. So the ward council is to decide on what organization to adopt. And again, we're encouraged to use something that's actually listed on JustServe, because we're trying to help the members gain a testimony of JustServe and how it will bless their lives, and go there and let that be part of their lives going forward. It's not a one-time thing, but this is to help them. So then ward councils decide on the scope of the project. Are we talking, they want the whole month of October to be focused on fall into service. So the scope of the project might be a one Saturday thing. It might be a Tuesday night, maybe something at Mutual, maybe something. Anyway, it's up to your ward. You'll preferably, as a ward council, discuss and decide the scope of the project or projects. And then you'll also want to talk about, do we want this to be something where we're going to do like a project the entire ward together? Are we going to do it where we challenge every family to go sign up for a project on JustServe and we promote it and really make it a big thing to get everybody to do a project during October? Or would it be by auxiliary organizations? Let the young men and women do one, the Relief Society do one. Would it be by classes, Sunday school, primary, etc.? And then I just want to mention a couple things about selecting a date for fall into service. I would get a date right away, simply because the calendar is going to fill up. We're already hitting June, and I want to mention, like, the first Saturday in October is General Conference, so probably not a good choice for a project. And if you're talking about doing it on a Saturday, maybe the 8th, 15th, or 22nd would be better days. October 29th can work. I just want to tell you to keep in mind also that that is Halloween, right around Halloween time. So if there's ward parties and different things going on, that could be too much to pull the family away. So just want to mention those things to keep in mind during the month of October. And then here is the timeline. Hopefully you've all seen this from Elder Robbins' memo, but there are different things that we were encouraged to do and to set up. So February to March, which we're already past that, but we were supposed to be populating the website with service opportunities that assist the poor and the needy. And then March and April, energize the ward about fall into service. So don't stress out if you're not quite there yet, because May, June, July, continue to energize them. Did I lose something there? Maybe so. I'm not seeing those dates. But anyway, so what we need to be doing right now is basically getting out there as quickly as possible now that we're hitting June and get projects on there, and then go forward with all the different ways to first of all, talk about this with your ward council as soon as possible. Pick a date, look at projects. Hopefully you have some there to choose from, and then start to go forward on energizing the ward about this. So if you're feeling a little bit behind, it's okay. Just do your best to catch up. And if your bishopric feels like this is too much for one person, then maybe a couple of people can work together to make this happen. So then they put August to September. Actually, the wards identify one or more service organizations on justserve.org. So truly, you could do that. The hard thing is if you don't have the project pick, it's hard to sign up for a date, right? But you do probably want to talk about with your ward council as soon as possible, kind of choosing a date that will, a tentative date that would work is what I would tell you to go for. And then you could probably firm things up later. But anyway, but definitely, though, get out there and get projects listed, and then really start to get your ward excited about JustServe and start to figure out who wants to be involved in this in October, and then start getting those remind texts going out or those kind of things. Okay. And then during October, that's the month. And again, if October does not work, you could do it in September or something like that. Of course, November, December get a little crazy with the holidays, but it doesn't necessarily have to be done in October. That's just the month that was in this letter, the October being a month of service. So that's why we keep talking about October. And then afterwards, November, keep in mind that we really want to collect stories and photographs and all experiences from the members about this. So please, please, please keep that in mind. Designate somebody, whether it be your ward historian, if that is your, ward, one of your ward clerks or something like that. Please keep that in mind, that to do this as we go along, so we don't lose that great information. And then the last slide, and then we'll go back to your questions. But if a ward is interested in refugee services related projects, you will find refugee projects now on justserve.org. And I want to mention that because there are a number listed right now, and I want to tell you guys this so you can help to spread the word. I don't know how well this has trickled down to all the stakes, but this wasn't my idea, but this came from the area asking that I actually coordinate the refugee services opportunities within the Austin metro area. So I'm working right now in communication with 4 different organizations to post their needs in helping with refugees in the Austin area. And so there's 14 projects listed currently, and more are in the works. So if you will tell your members, if they questions come up about this, which they might if they know that you're involved with JustServe, if they will put Austin in right here where you normally put the city, state, and zip, put Austin there, and then click on the little arrow, put refugee for the keywords right there, and search, then 14 different opportunities will pop up, and they can see these. Now, your ward can pick one of these opportunities or multiple projects here to do. There's, rug and throw pillow drive. There's Explore ATX, where you can go take a refugee family out for the day and help them explore Austin, go to a picnic together down at Zilker Park, or something like that. So you definitely could. I just would tell you, if your ward does want to do something with refugee services, to please look on JustServe for the projects. Don't call Refugee Services of Texas or Caritas or whatever directly. Go to justserve.org to find the opportunities. And then if you have questions, contact me. If you want to especially do something outside the scope of what's listed. For example, someone said, what if we want to make hygiene kits? And I said, well, they actually told me they don't need any hygiene kits. So that's why it's good to check with me, just because I might have that information that they feel like they have a ton of hygiene kits, but they really could use school supplies. So anyway, I could probably steer you in another direction if there's an idea that you have that won't work, but I can help you understand. And if there's something you want to ask from them, then I can coordinate that with them. So let's go back, hopefully. Okay. You wanted to go back to the resource for Google Docs for a minute. The JustServe ward, is that what the JustServe ward, is that for the whole ward or just to train the ward leaders? If you want to take your mic off mute and explain that, you're welcome to right now. We're kind of here hitting the end. And you want me to go back to the Google Doc that had all of the, so this is the Google Doc, the one that I was telling you at the bit.do/JustServe. This has all the different documents available for community outreach specialists, both at the stake and the ward level. So there's the little posters that you can download. This was the actual right here. This one is the training from, the PowerPoints. There's a PowerPoint for the ward. Yes. I believe this is the one. Oh, that's the one for the JustServe committees. Oh, this is one. Okay, just right here. You see this one? This is JustServe for the wards. So this right here, if you download it, this is a great little PowerPoint that you can use at the ward level for presentations. Yeah, and it can be shown to the ward on a fifth Sunday, yes, but it doesn't. They specified it doesn't have to be. The brethren said we don't have to make our local priesthood leaders feel like it has to be on a fifth Sunday. If there's a better Sunday that would work for the ward, then that's just fine. So, okay, and then right here, I wanted to point out this is the actual presentation that I did back in April. So if you want to refer back to that one for help, that one's there. Again, make sure you read the JustServe guidelines right here. They're all here. This one I love as well, these different resources, but I think this is so neat. A ward actually took, this is going to open, sorry, it might take a second, but they actually took and created this for their ward where they said, okay, here's a great way for our ward to get involved with JustServe. If you're a family looking for service, here are some JustServe projects. If you're a retired member, here are some JustServe projects. If you're a primary age kid, because on JustServe you can designate projects that are good for all ages. So these are ones that kids could do, or young women. Here's some young men. I thought this was awesome. Anyway, I'm just one. I don't want to ever create the wheel. I want to see what other people do and then take it and utilize it, improve upon it. So, okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? If you do, you can take your mic off mute and ask me a question if there are. I hope I didn't overwhelm you. And again, all of this is meant to just be a resource to you that you will prayerfully decide with your bishopric what is right, and your ward council what is right for your ward. And then you could go back and rewatch this. I'm going to send everybody the URL if it helps to like pull up some of these different resources to get ideas again, or to kind of go through the list and think through. I apologize, I didn't catch a few typos and such, but I will also put this PowerPoint here in this folder. So so you could show that or talk to people about it that way, some of the people that you serve with as well. So I hope this is helpful. And again, I don't mean to overwhelm you. I just want to share with you what is available. And if you have any questions, first always go to your stake Director of Public Affairs and your stake JustServe or your stake community outreach person. And then if they can't answer it, feel free to reach out to me or ask them to reach out to me. And sometimes I go even higher when I don't know all the answers either. So we'll just all work together to make this happen. But I do have a testimony that it's going to do amazing things. I've already seen amazing things happen. So I'm super, super excited. And I hope that, like I said, I hope that I don't get too caught up. Sometimes I want to just like, okay, let's make this happen. Like, here's the nitty gritties. Let's do it. Let's the nuts and bolts. That I hope that you understand. I do have a testimony of all of this, and that I have gone out and served with my family as well, and have felt and seen their hearts changed and softened, and growth from serving together as a family. Another quick thing, when we have our ward create an account and they volunteer through JustServe, are those numbers kept? And if so, what are they used for? You know, there are stats being kept, but don't worry so much about those. Yes, right now we are looking at like how many projects are listed per stake, just so that we kind of understand like, okay, do we need to do some more training or help or support in a stake maybe that is having a hard time getting projects listed, but that is kept track of. The numbers are all a little skewed. The church is tracking only so that they can, they spent, invested a lot of time and energy and a little money for developers to actually develop this site. So I'm sure they want to know, like, is this being utilized and how and to what, depth and such. So I think that's, the numbers are being kept, but do realize that, for example, we're all going to go, not we're all going to, but for all the people that are signing up to go work with the refugees, well, that happens to be Refugee Services Texas is an Austin stake. So when you click on volunteer, that's actually going to keep a number. It's going to go to the Austin stake. And it doesn't matter that you're in the Round Rock East stake or the Kyle stake or whatever. The point is that we're giving Christ-like service and helping refugees. Oh, can you mute your mic? Anyway, so please don't get too caught up in the numbers. Just keep in mind that we want to make sure there are things listed, and don't worry so much about the statistics. But that's what we want to teach the people. And no, we do not. When they create an account, it's not connected to their LDS.org account at all. So there's no connection there. We simply can see the number for the stake only, and then for the total number of hours served. Do encourage people, though, to go click on that volunteer button, because that does help us to understand. It's interesting to see, like, some projects are getting very little traction and others are getting a lot. And it's it's teaching us a little bit about like how we can write the little snippets, the little things that draw them in, or things like that, or just the way we're presenting it because of how people are approaching it or responding. So are there any other questions? Do I talk too fast? Okay. Well, if no one has any other questions, we will end the recording. And again, if you have any questions that your local people can't answer, I think you all know my personal email is texasmom5boys@gmail.com. And my cell phone is 512-586-4392. All right. Thank you so much for being on today. Appreciate all that you do. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Colette. You did a great job.
Thank you. Bye, Linda.
Bye.